Now on BBC Two Northern Ireland, the programme with its finger on the political pulse.
Good evening and welcome to the programme. Later we'll take a look at the art of the absurd, how cartoonists draw the humour out of political conflict. But we begin with the Ulster Unionists, who come together this weekend in Londonderry for the annual conference. It'll be an uneasy gathering, with a significant section of the party unhappy with the peace process and David Trimble's leadership. With me now, one of the leading dissidents, the East Londonderry MP William Ross, and the Trimble Loyalist, Dermot Nesbitt. Gentlemen, you're both welcome to Hearts and Minds. Dermot Nesbitt, it's going to be pretty much stage-managed, this conference, isn't it, to avoid any possibility of this split looming?
No, it's not going to be stage-managed. There will be a motion on security, there will be a motion about the Assembly, there will be a motion on health, and even a motion on women's issues, and that permits many and varied responses from the floor of the conference to those important issues in
But
Northern
no
Ireland.
balloted motion which allows the delegates themselves to choose a subject for discussion.
There was no balloted motion last year, but I addressed the issue that you said. It will not be stage managed in the sense that people from the floor will be free to express their views on the many and varied issues which are important to them and will be seen demonstrably through the motions that are for discussion on Saturday.
What do you see coming forward? What opportunity are the dissidents going to use to have their voice heard?
Well, of course, Dermot says that it's not a stage-managed affair. All party conferences are stage-managed to some extent, some more, some less. I notice that there is not a motion on power sharing. I notice that there is not a motion on disarmament of terrorist weapons in this year's conference, and I would have thought that those were the two hottest issues they are, so they're clearly being avoided. But as Dermot says, no doubt people are ingenious enough to find some ways of raising those issues.
Do you think he and his ilk are tearing the Unionist Party apart?
Well, I'm sure Willie Ross, and no doubt William, a colleague of mine, is a unionist like I am. Unionist tradition. What we're trying to do, and let's look at it from the positive point of view, Noel, which is the important element. David Trimble assumed leadership in September 95. We recast party policy in November 95 at a special executive meeting. And from then to now, we have resolutely, with the leadership of David Trimble, been implementing as best we can those policies and principles and practices that were alluded to way back then. So we have been logical, we have been consistent, and above all, our actions are guided by the principle of the defence of the Unionist community within Northern Ireland, and Northern Ireland is a region of the United Kingdom.
Well, you think he and his ilk are tearing the party apart, don't you?
Well, of course, the reality is that the discussions which took place in the party were over whether or not we should talk to Sinn Féin IRA. There has never been any consultation or decision taken as to whether or not we would welcome them into government. And perhaps Dermot could tell the people who are watching this programme now how on earth having Gerry Adams, McGuinness and his ilk, as you describe certain gatherings, is going to help the Unionist cause in Northern Ireland. How these people who are totally dedicated by violence, if necessary, in the past through the associations with other people to destroy the Union, how they're going to protect it and how they are going to work for the good of the Unionist population and strengthen the Union. I personally can't see how that can be done.
Oh, there's an invitation.
Yeah, 2 points I would make to that very briefly. One is that we always had that as our policy. In 1995, when we revisited policy, we talked about those being in government representing in proportional terms their elected strength. So that does permit Sinn Féin to be in government. We do not hide that, but we do not say it is unconditional. Anyone participating in government, they have a conditional right to be in government. In other words, to discharge responsibility on behalf of the Assembly. However, that conditional right bears with it a responsibility. And the responsibility, particularly with respect to Sinn Féin, which Willie has talked about, they are the political wing of a Republican movement. There is a paramilitary wing, namely IRA. And that wing has merely, to date, declared a ceasefire. That is their sole contribution to this process.
Right, well, the question was, as things stand at the moment, how, Willie Ross asked, would having Sinn Féin in government help bring about peace?
But Sinn Féin will not be in government as of now. We have made our position very clear about that. The last executive made it very clear as well. And that is one of the reasons why I'm here today at your invitation, to make sure that the party policy is projected in both a positive way Namely, we want to go forward, Unionist, Nationalist, and indeed the Republican movement, to be in government, to have a government and an administration that embraces the whole community. However, there are certain principles and practices, one of which is non-linkage with paramilitary organisations. That's a principle that's applied elsewhere in the liberal democratic world. We ask for no more or no less that's applicable elsewhere in all.
Is the problem not really, Willie Ross, that this isn't about decommissioning? I mean, you're opposed to power sharing full stop.
Oh, I make no secret of that because I think it's a totally unworkable system, and in fact John Hume has
So even if Sinn Féin were to decommission tomorrow, you'd still be having this fight?
Well, I think we'd be having a somewhat different fight, but I mean, the fight at the present time is over whether or not Sinn Féin IRA should disarm, hand over their weapons, because that's what we're talking about. And it is now clear that this whole question of the surrender of weapons is a crucial matter. If it's crucial now, it was crucial 18 months ago whenever the present leadership of the Unionist Party decided to put it on the shelf and forget about it.
But it's an easy smokescreen for you, isn't it?
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
If decommission were to happen, you'd still be opposed to power sharing.
Yes, but we're talking about decommissioning at the moment, if I may turn to that point. And let's keep to the facts.
Well, I'm trying to talk about the split in the Unionist Party. There's also a split between those people who want to share power and those people who don't.
Well, I don't think that power sharing is a workable solution at all. I don't think that it can work in the long run. And that was the position of this party for a very long time, and I think we embarked on the present policy without going into that whole question in depth and overthrowing a policy which we've maintained for some 30 years. But let's get back to the weapons issue. If it was crucial 18 months ago, then it should have been dealt with then. If it wasn't crucial 18 months ago, it's not crucial now. If it had been dealt with 18 months ago, we would have known exactly where we stood, and therefore we would not have taken the party through the whole trauma that we've been through in this last 8 or 9 months. We wouldn't have been through the whole question of the assembly elections, the whole question of the referendum, the whole thing been over and done with. Because let's be clear about this. If the Unionist Party leadership sticks to its guns, if it is going to demand that there is visible, open, clearly verifiable in the sense of people seeing weapons destroyed, then the IRA, Sinn Féin, will not be in the Assembly unless they do that. And I would like to know just exactly what some people in our party think decommissioning, that word, means. Does it mean that we will accept the word of General de Chastelin that he is convinced that decommissioning has taken place? Or does it mean what I think most people out there have always taken it to mean, that the weapons will be clearly seen to be going through a cruncher and being destroyed?
Many times, and many different people have accused the Unionist leadership of preparing for a fudge. Is that what's going to happen?
No, we're not preparing for a fudge. And Willie was saying there a moment ago the fact that we fudged it even 18 months ago. We were very clear what we did. We consulted within the party. Clear guidance was given by the executive as to what we should do. And we did what the party indicated we should do. We're now at a stage whereby it cannot be fudged in that sense. We wish for, from Willie's point of view, credible, verifiable decommission. Credible means it's credible. You actually can see it, it's visual, and it's verifiable.
He believes it.
Well, let me put it this way to Willie. Do we all accept, in a sense, as unionists, because this is a critical time for the unionist community, never mind the Ulster Unionist Party, who's trying to give decided and decisive leadership here. David Trimble, the party leader, is endeavouring to implement party policy and also the fact that we wish to see a credible and verifiable commitment on the part of the paramilitary wing of IRA. Unionism united, and that means much more than the Ulster Unionist Party could help to deliver that.
Accept the analysis put forward by Sinn Féin, among others, that this decommissioning thing is a smokescreen, and that really the people who are on this dissident wing are opposed to power sharing in a very, very fundamental sense?
Quite the reverse. It is not a smokescreen, neither is it a ruse. Martin McGuinness has said we are against equality, we're against a participatory form of government. Wrong, Martin. The party that I represent, and above all, the policy of the party that I represent, wishes to have an embracing form of government.
Are these people an embarrassment?
No, not an embarrassment.
Because they don't want power sharing.
I'm quite happy to sit with Willie, and Willie's quite honest to admit that. But the party policy is what I am trying to, as it were, project today. We wish...
It sounds like two different parties, though. You want power sharing,
no. You didn't interrupt, Willie. Let me finish one point. Very important. We in the unionist community do recognise 60% are unionists. There is a 40% nationalist community. we realise unless or until we begin to work together in government, we will not find a peaceful, stable society in which we can all share together. And we've recognised that. We've also recognised that Northern Ireland is
Willie
a
Ross
part of the United Kingdom.
is he a dinosaur?
I don't view Willie as a dinosaur. I'm here defending party policy.
Well, what is he then? What is he?
Well, that's for Willie to say. Willie is
I'm a traditional
He's a
unionist.
good-speaking unionist.
I'm a traditional unionist, and my great-grandfather was one of the foundation members of this party, and for 4 generations we have been involved in it and working for it. And may I say that I was very pleased indeed to hear Dermot say but a moment ago that he was interested in unionist unity. That's at least at the right of it. But sadly, David Trimble has now seen fit to meet Gerry Adams on at least 3 occasions, on a number of those occasions alone, something which he condemned the previous leader for doing with the Prime Minister. And now just let me finish.
Go ahead.
He has not as yet, so far as I know, sought a meeting with Mr. McCartney or Dr. Paisley. And if we're going to talk about uniting unionism, surely there is a starting point to be made there to try to convince them that the policy the party is being followed is one that is acceptable to the broad mass of unionism. I don't think that effort is being made.
Do you think that Willie Ross and others have failed to recognise that the world has changed? We had the DUP meeting President McAleese and Derry. We had Willie Thompson on a platform discussing with Keeping a Quail of Sinn Féin in Dublin yesterday. The world does appear to many people to be changing. Do you believe that these people have refused to recognise that?
You've mentioned 2 people that seem to recognise a change. It's very interesting. The DUP Lord Mayor is meeting today. In fact, he said yesterday on a BBC programme that he viewed the world as changed, to use your words. In fact, he said the Sullivan government now recognises the constitutional position of Northern Ireland, which it didn't do in 1992.
The
which he said,
party doesn't believe
that's the very point I'm about to make, Willie. Whereas if he was to listen to his party leader, Dr. Paisley, he even says the claim is worse than it was. So there seems to be a lot of dissension within the DUP. But what is an important point that Willie made there about trying, from our point of view, to bring together strands of unionism? I say openly and publicly today, there are members of the UK Unionist Party who actually refuse to speak to me. Cedric Wilson, I went up to and spoke to him a few months ago and asked him in a nice way, how are you? Cedric looked at me straight in the eye and said, I said to you, Dermot, once, if you ever entered negotiations prior to decommissioning, I would never speak to you again.
All right.
Now, that doesn't bode well.
Are you lumping Willie Ross and the others in your party together with the UKUs and the DUP?
I want to come to the second point of that.
You'll have to hurry.
We have had a meeting with all the Westminster MPs who are spokespersons, along with the spokespersons of the Assembly Party, last Saturday in Glengall Street. That's the second meeting. You also note that when David Trimble came back from the United States, who replaced him? The Trade and Industry Westminster MP, who sadly has had to return. But nevertheless, David Trimble is endeavouring. There are examples.
That's Jeffrey Donaldson.
Yes, there are examples. Meeting with Westminster MPs and involving the MPs. Do you wish to involve all?
Time is running out. Do you think that the party is heading for a split?
Oh no, I don't. I think the party is heading for a reconsideration of its policy
under a new leader.
Well, that remains to be seen. I would have thought not. I would have thought that the party leader has made it perfectly plain that he's not going to sit down and govern.
Would you support a motion of no confidence?
Just a moment.
I'm sorry, I do have a lot of questions to ask, very little time.
Well,
would you support a motion of no confidence?
Then we should come back next week.
Perhaps we can do that, but could you answer that question for me?
There is no question of no confidence because David Trimble's made it perfectly plain he's not having Sinn Féin in government, and then I think we've got to see whether or not Mr. Mallon and company will support David Trimble in that and keep them out and form an executive without Sinn Féin. That's the question that has to be answered, and it's not yet been answered by anybody.
Willie Ross and Dermot Nesbitt, thank you both very much indeed.